What's up guys, back with another Borderlands 2 video, and there's a good chance that in the past 5 years, you may have done everything in this game. Whether that be collecting every legendary, leveling up all 6 of the Vault Hunters, and maybe even discovering most of the game's secret locations. However, there's a possibility that you haven't been to every location in Borderlands 2, as Borderlands 2 does have its fair share of out-of-map or out-of-bounds locations. Out-of-bounds areas are areas that can't be accessed through normal gameplay and require the player to glitch their way into them. And today, I want to go over 10 of what I think are the best out-of-map locations that Borderlands 2 has to offer. Now before we start, this video will feature locations that can be accessed on all platforms. You may need certain DLC or some practice with rocket or grenade jumping, but you won't need things like Cheat Engine on PC or any modded weapons to access any of these out-of-bounds locations. There's one more thing I want to go ahead and say before we start, but I do want to test you guys a little bit. If there was an out-of-bounds location on this list that you did not know about, feel free and leave a like on this video. And if you knew all of the out-of-bounds locations in this video, leave a dislike. But I guess without further ado, these will be the top 10 coolest out-of-bounds map glitches in Borderlands 2 starting now. Number 10, Heroes Pass. So accessing this particular out-of-bounds location is relatively easy to do. You will need to start at the very beginning of the level and then run through until you come upon the first Hyperion barge. As you get close, veer to your left and climb to the top of the digging equipment, and be sure to get on top of the blades. Now, if you time it right, you should be able to jump on the Hyperion barge's platform. The platform will close, and you can walk around on top of and around the Hyperion barge. While this out-of-bounds area is relatively small, you can get a pretty good look at the top of the Hyperion barge and check out some of its detail. Now, while you can't go into anything, this area is actually really good for dropping down from the barge to access the level design block that's at the very bottom of pretty much every single Borderlands 2 stage. So if you've been having a hard time trying to land on one of these blocks, I would say that this particular location is a great place to do it. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot else to this one, but it is still pretty easy to access. Number 9, Frostburn Canyon. There's actually a pretty interesting out-of-bounds area that you can reach in Frostburn Canyon, provided you're playing as Salvador and you're dual-wielding 2 bada booms, and if you have the double your fun skill, which allows you to throw 2 grenades. What you need to do is get to the room just before you walk across the bridge to meet Lilith, and in this room, you'll notice this suspended platform. Go ahead and rocket jump up to it, and then while facing the rocks, do a grenade plus rocket jump combo, and if you do it right, you should land on one of the platforms. Walk forward, and you should be able to drop down to another snow-covered rock. To your right, you should see Lilith's chambers, and to your left, you should see this open area with ice. Now, if you try to just jump off the cliff and into the ice, you'll encounter a death wall. However, if you grenade and rocket jump, you can clear the death wall and enter the frozen area beyond. While there isn't a whole lot here, it is a relatively large area that the player can explore with a bunch of terrain that you can clip through. That said, you will need to be careful, however, as there are some death walls in this area that can creep up on you and if you go out too far. But I would say that if you don't mind the rocket jumping, this is a great area to go ahead and explore. Number 8, Sanctuary before it's airborne. Now, this next out-of-bounds or out-of-map location can only be accessed while Sanctuary is on the ground. Once Sanctuary is airborne, this particular trick sort of works, but results in the player encountering a death wall. Now, in order to get out of bounds, you will need to get on top of Pierce Station, or just the building that the Sanctuary fast travel is located in. I recommend that you find the bench and the shop canopy that's close to Marcus's gun shop, and then platform onto the canopy and then onto the roof. From here, simply jump from one roof to another until you get to the lower part of Pierce Station. From here, jump up on one of the sides, grenade jump where I am, and finally jump up to the top of the roof like I've just shown. Once you're on top of the roof, align yourself facing the wall where Crazy Earl's shop is, look down, throw a grenade, back up, and run over the grenade, and jump to do a forward grenade jump. If you do it right, you should be launched over the wall and into a completely black area. Drop down and you'll notice that you're now under Sanctuary. Exploring around here is pretty cool because you can visit several locations that you normally can't get to. For example, the player can use this method to get behind the barrier that would normally be blocking them from getting close to the training dummy. And you can also look up at various characters in Sanctuary, which is pretty cool as well. I would say that if you're at the very beginning of the game, then you should go ahead and try to pull this off because it is a pretty neat place to visit. Number 7. Wham Bam Island. Now, while you do need to be playing Salvador and you will need the Son of Cromrax DLC to access this out-of-bounds location, I think you'll also find that this out-of-bounds location is pretty easy to access. Now, in order to get to this particular place, you will need to go to the underwater tunnels in the DLC and enter the main foyer area with all of the enemies. Go ahead and take them all out and go to either one of the connecting archways and do a dual rocket grenade jump, and you'll discover that you can actually land on top of and walk across these tubed pathways. I don't think I really have to say exactly why this is cool because you're basically underwater. Now, you can't actually walk off these tubes, and there is a chance that you can encounter some death walls here, so you may want to be careful and just be aware of that. I would say as far as DLC locations go, this is a pretty cool place to glitch into. Number 6, the Beatdown. So the Beatdown actually has a pretty massive out-of-bounds area. However, actually getting to it is somewhat difficult unless you're using a modded jump gun, which isn't really practical for most players. However, there is a method that will allow you to get into the out-of-bounds area. It's somewhat involved, but you're going to want to start right where the road through the Beatdown is blocked off. Turn to your right and either grenade or rocket jump over to the pipe. Then go to the end of the pipe, rocket or grenade jump, and then clip through the wall. From here, you're going to want to run and jump to an invisible platform like I'm doing in the video, and then from there, turn diagonally like I've done in the video, and grenade or rocket jump over to the next obstacle. Now for this next part, you're going to need to grenade or rocket jump over to the road. So go ahead and do that, and once you've reached the other side, walk along the road and keep to the left as you will be hugging an invisible wall. Eventually, you'll notice that this wall disappears. Turn left and simply jump off the road like I've done in the video, and I think you'll find that the rest is pretty explanatory. Now, not only is this area insanely massive, but you may be surprised to know that the road that you were walking on earlier seemingly extends way below the map. So it might be possible that whoever developed the Torgue DLC may have intended to use the long road at some point during development, but for whatever reason, the idea was scrapped. But if you're looking for a really great out-of-bounds area and you have the Torgue DLC, this is a place you should definitely go. Number 5, the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve. Continuing on our theme with ridiculously large out-of-bounds maps, the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve out-of-bounds area is incredibly impressive as a significant portion of the Highlands is completely rendered out and pretty much all of it is completely traversable. And if you were wondering whatever happened to this particular area from some of Borderlands 2's promotional material, then I think these particular out-of-bounds areas are it. Now, in order to access this area, you're going to need to get to the part of wildlife exploitation just before you have to do the mandatory fight with the Stalkers and Hyperion Loaders. This is slightly after where you enter the Creature Slaughter Dome. Now, it's sort of hard to describe how to get up here, but approach this wall like I did and rocket or grenade jump up. You will now want to do this again with another platform, just like I'm showing in the video, and this next particular part is tricky, but you're going to want to jump up and around this invisible wall, and if you do it correctly, you should land on an invisible platform just above the moonshot container. From here, follow the path that I follow, clip through the mountainside, and you should end up in this unbelievably massive area. Now, you could potentially spend upwards of 10 to 15 minutes just walking around here, and you can get surprisingly close to the Bloodshot Dam, and you can also get a relatively close-up view of an airborne sanctuary as well. So I would say if you're bored and you're looking for something to do, this would be a great out-of-bounds area to explore. Number 4. Wormwater. Now, you may be somewhat surprised to hear this, but it's possible to get into this out-of-bounds area in Wormwater without either rocket jumps or grenade jumps. Instead, you'll need to use the Sand Skiff, and you will definitely need the Captain Scarlet DLC. What I recommend is you start on Captain Scarlet's ship and spawn a Sand Skiff on the lower deck. Then drive straight out of the valley and turn right. You'll eventually come upon an arch, but don't go past it. Turn left, and what you need to do is try to get the Sand Skiff to climb up on top of the wall. And while it may take a few tries, you'll know that you've successfully pulled it off if you can get the Sand Skiff stuck on top of the wall. From here, simply hop out, navigate some of the invisible barriers by crouching, and you should be able to drop off on the other side. In my opinion, this particular out-of-bounds location is a really great one to show to friends, because one person can simply get the Sand Skiff lodged on the wall, and then their friends can teleport onto the Sand Skiff to easily spawn in. What's also great about this particular location is the fact that you can actually see 2 different Leviathans below the map of Wormwater. Plus, you can also see some of the internal areas of the Leviathan that the player traverses. Ultimately, I think you'll find this is a great out-of-bounds area to visit, as it's a pretty big open area and there are some cool sights to see. Number 3. Friendship Gulag. Now, this is one of my personal favorites, but sort of like the wildlife exploitation or the beatdown locations, the Friendship Gulag out-of-bounds area is one of the larger ones. Of course, to access this location, you will need to travel to the Gulag from the dust, and once you've arrived, you'll need to run along the southernmost wall until you reach a moonshot container in front of a no escape sign. From here, jump up on top of the container, face the sign, and then rocket jump over the wall to access the out-of-bounds area. What's cool about this particular area is that you can explore parts of the dust unimpeded by the various buildings. And you might also be surprised to know that you can actually jump off of the cliff of the dust and explore the areas beyond. In fact, it's kind of stunning just how far you can walk here, and it will easily take you several minutes to walk from where the cliff starts, or I guess ends, through the vast pocket of land beyond. And if you go far enough, you could even reach some areas that sort of resemble the highlands. It's pretty impressive that Gearbox went ahead and rendered all of this out. So if you're bored and you want to do some out-of-bounds exploring, head on over to the Friendship Gulag and jump the fence. Number 2. Bloodshot Stronghold. So this is probably one of the more famous out-of-map glitches, but it's pretty cool all the same because Bloodshot Stronghold could be considered to be a labyrinth of out-of-bounds areas. A fair number of the ceilings here basically have no clipping, so you can easily just launch yourself up with a bada boom and explore areas that you're not supposed to get to. I think my preferred method though is to start at the very beginning of the area, run past the very first area with enemies, past the remains of a Hyperion robot into the room with those 3 turbines. Rocket or grenade jump onto the 3rd turbine, then jump up again onto the pipe. Then jump up on the pipe corner piece, and then face the window grate and then just jump through it. If you do it right, this should put you above the ceiling and is a great way to skip a bunch of the Bloodshot Stronghold. In my mind, this is a great location for some out-of-bounds exploring, and I recommend that you try to glitch through the various ceilings in all of the Stronghold's rooms, because there are many more methods than the one that I'm just showing here. And finally, number 1, the bunker. So you can perform a pretty cool out-of-bounds glitch at the bunker. However, you can only do this during the Where Angels Fear to Tread main quest mission, as this will allow you to access the elevator that takes you down to Control Core Angel. Now, before you actually go into Control Core Angel, you're going to need to go up to one of the metal columns, jump on the craggy rocks to the left of it, and try to glitch through the column. If you do it right, you should be able to find a part you can fall through. Now, while inside, try to look around, and you should be able to slide down to another area and then walk through a stone wall to enter this massive dirt-like area. From here, head towards the giant skeleton, and then try to find an incline so you can run up, and you should eventually come across Terramorphous. Now, in case you guys didn't know, you can occasionally see Terramorphous from on top of the bunker. And what we've essentially done here by going out of bounds is go to an area where we can actually visit the physical model. While it does suck that you do have to have a specific mission activated in order to get to this area, this is actually a pretty fun glitch to perform and is definitely something that you should try to do when you get the opportunity. But alright guys, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. Be sure to let me know what some of your favorite out-of-bounds locations are, because there are many more than I showed in this particular video. Otherwise, like this video if you liked it, click the bell to join the notification squad, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.